In memory of the over 30 million people around the world who've died of AIDS-related diseases, I wear this red ribbon. But now, before you change the station, wouldn't you want to know how to reduce your chances of contracting HIV or AIDS? Well, it all starts with education. It starts right now on Education Matters. Welcome inside of Education Matters. My name is Donna Moore Westby, your host of Education Matters, and we're connecting you to the world of education one step at a time. It's been a couple of weeks since I last saw you, so to speak, in terms of a live broadcast. We sure hope you enjoyed the broadcast as we celebrated American Education Week. Today will be a very special day. I know there are many of you who, when having the discussion about HIV or AIDS, whether it's on the news or reading a newspaper article, you put it away or you turn the station because you don't want to hear it. Maybe some of you feel as if not hearing or seeing it means it can no longer happen to you. Well, ignorance is also just as powerful as education, but in the wrong direction. We must be educated. Education is the key to prevention, and when we're talking about something as serious as HIV and AIDS, we must keep the conversation going. So please make sure you stay with us the entire hour so that you can be enlightened. We, of course, want to thank the sponsors of Education Matters, and I like to call them my partners, and they are the Martial Arts Academy under the direction of Mr. Andrew Blocker, the Barner Group, Educational Associates, Magnolia Medical Center. Dr. Margot Muniz is my doctor there. Also, the Will Lou Gray Opportunity School out of West Columbia, South Carolina. Of course, Westby's Products and Services, creator of Dawn's Seasoning Delight, all-purpose seasoning and marinade. Many of you used it during the Thanksgiving season, and Christmas is on its way, so make sure you get stocked up. And then a brand new sponsor for Education Matters, and that is Bryant Insurance Agency. And Takia Dorn is the agent in charge there, also an all-state affiliate. So thanks to all of you for supporting Education Matters. I just have a few announcements, just a couple of announcements to share with you today. And we've got our trusty little chalkboard to help us out. Now, I want you to check out my website, and that is www.edmatt.com. That's EDMATT.com. Just to make sure, actually, let me go to what you're seeing on the screen right now, that on edmatt.com, you will see the steps to prepare your child for college. That is 8th grade through the 12th grade. There are very specific steps to help your child move in that direction. So please make sure you go to edmatt.com for those tips, all right? Then we are almost at my 100 friend mark. I would love to have you as my new friend on Facebook. Join Donna's Facebook family. All you have to do, there are a couple of ways to do it. You can either within Facebook do a search for Education Matters with Donna Moore Westby, all right, and that is a page, and then like or accept, and then, or you can go on my website and you will see a button where you just press the like, and automatically you'll be a part of the Education Matters Facebook family, where I place a variety of notifications, what we're talking about on the broadcast, both the radio and the television broadcast, along with other information that we believe will be helpful, all right? So please take the time to join my Facebook family, all right? Now we're moving into the Education Matters tip of the week. Every week we do provide you with a brand new tip, all right? And this week is no different. I love this tip. For 1 week straight, Say something positive to your child or family member. You will be amazed of the impact kind words and encouragement has on others. You know, there are some people who you meet, you come across them at church or at work, and it's always a negative word. Those people don't make you feel too good, do they? No, and you hate to see them coming, which is unfortunate. Try some positivity. You will be amazed at the differences you will see in your children and in your family members when you highlight the positive and not the negative, all right? Of course, we all have areas with which we can improve, but a good way to help make changes is when you are encouraging others. So that is this week's tip of the week, okay? All right. Now, my guest was my guest on the radio earlier this morning, and she didn't know what that sound means. Now she knows that that sound means it's Word of the Week time inside of Education Matters. Every week, we do provide you a brand new word, and I love this week's Word of the Week. So here it is. Flamboyant. Flamboyant. Yes, Miss Cindy is very flamboyant today. She's nodding like, yeah, right. Flamboyant is spelled Flamboyant. And flamboyant is an adjective, and it means highly elaborate or showy, okay? And I'll use that in a sentence for you. The drug dealer's flamboyant lifestyle brought attention to himself and aroused suspicion from the police. Okay? That is this week's Word of the Week, flamboyant. You can have fun with this word, all right? If you have a family member like I do, she's my wonderful aunt, but she always over-accessorizes. If she can have on a hat, earrings, necklace, scarf, all in the same outfit. It's just, but she's got it going on. That's what I would call flamboyant. So, hey, Aunt Lee, if you're watching, I love you. But anyway, use that Word of the Week. Have fun with it, all right, so that we may all learn and grow together. Okay, moving right along. Definitely on a serious note. It's very hard to believe, but over 33 million people in the world today are living with HIV. That's quite a lot of people. And unfortunately, sometimes these individuals who have contracted HIV, it really could have been prevented. And it starts, as I said before, it starts with education. Don't be afraid, all right? Don't be afraid to learn what we're going to share with you today. Here inside of Education Matters is my guest and has been with me all day today, looking mighty good and flamboyant in a beautiful way. And that is Miss Barbara Hightower. Welcome to Education Matters.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being on. And I really mean this from the depths of my soul, that Miss Barbara has a heart for people.
Yes, I do.
And has a true heart and a passion for helping to educate anyone, boy, girl, man, woman, any race or ethnicity, it doesn't matter. When we're talking about HIV and AIDS, some people may be asking, as we did on the radio station, why are we talking about this? Tell us what is coming up. And we have, as you're talking about it, we're going to put something up on the screen. Okay. What is actually coming up?
What's coming up tomorrow, which is Thursday, December 1st, is World AIDS Day. Mm-hmm. And World AIDS Day is a world celebration. I call it a celebration. Some may call it a day of knowledge. Some may call it a day of understanding, maybe a day of reckoning, a day of clarity, but it's a day where it's observed worldwide, HIV and AIDS. individuals can gain greater understanding, greater clarity. Some have it as a day of testing, but it's a day that's set aside worldwide, like you stated, where individuals can gain greater knowledge, greater understanding. Actually, they can, like I stated on the radio this morning, do some Googling on the web just to get some numbers, to get additional information. But it's just a day set aside so we can all get additional knowledge about HIV and AIDS.
And I think it is very crucial for us to understand that this is not just a United States problem. This is a worldwide condition.
Right.
It is a global,
Right.
as some of our world leaders have noted, it's a global emergency. And I want to share a quote that was a part of some research that I pulled. HIV and AIDS constitute a global emergency, pose one of the most formidable challenges to the development, progress, and stability of our respective societies and the world at large, and require an exceptional and comprehensive global response. What that means, what that says to me, Ms. Barbara, is not only do we have to educate individuals, but we
Yes.
must have our entire communities involved and
Yes.
engaged in the conversation, and even our political leaders.
Yes, yes. And even to take it a step further, as you're talking globally, I'm thinking in Africa, the number of women in Africa that are positive, that they don't have access to medical care, they don't have access to treatment, or even the women that may even have access to that, but they can't share, they can't openly talk about it. They're not in a position where they can say to their partners no, or even they're not even in a position where they have the option to use a condom. Here I am trying to negotiate condom use among my clients,
Right.
and there are women that don't even have the option to negotiate condom use.
When we talk about World AIDS Day, there are 3 target areas to help us as the world to basically embrace the
Yes.
theme, which is what this
Which
year?
is this year, it's getting to zero. And getting to zero has 3 components. The first one is 0 new infections. 0 new infections mean, what my understanding of the meaning is that for the next year, for the next 2 years, for the next 4 years, that there won't be any new infections, meaning that individuals that are positive, they're going to protect themselves, they're going to protect others. Those that are not sure of their status, they're going to get tested so they can know their status. The second component is 0 discrimination. Those of us that know individuals are positive, we're not going to discriminate against them. The medical providers, we're asking not to discriminate against them. Of course, a lot of individuals that are HIV positive don't have health insurance. We're asking those providers that know that there are people in your community that don't have health insurance, provide a way for them to be seen to get treatment. Don't discriminate against those that are positive.
And it would also take into account our political leaders in terms of the amount of money that's
Yes.
allocated to spend toward treatment and medication, et cetera.
And speaking on that, just recently, the South Carolina AIDS Drug Assistance Program has gotten additional funding. The South Carolina AIDS Drug Assistance Program is one way that our clients get their medication, and the funding had decreased. Fortunately, we've had an increase of funds. The wait list is not as high as it once was. So those people are able to get their medications, and we thank the political leaders for that, and we thank them for not discriminating against those that are positive, because sometimes when you don't have a knowledge of a subject, or the knowledge of what's going on, or even the knowledge of an individual, and we assume, like we so often do, we can start discriminating and we start making assumptions.
That's right.
So that's one of the target points for World AIDS Day is 0 discrimination, because unfortunately and fortunately, we can't look at an individual and make that determination if they're positive or not.
That's right.
So even those that know someone that's positive, we encourage you to embrace them. those of you that's not sure or think you know or have no knowledge of a positive person, don't discriminate once you come into that knowledge, because what I find happening is that individuals will embrace a certain person. They will have physical contact, hugs, kisses, hand holding, dinner eating, all of that, going out, hanging out. But once they come into the knowledge of that person is positive, they cut all ties.
Right.
Nothing has changed.
Right.
The only thing that has changed is that now you know that person is positive.
Right.
So we ask that you not discriminate. And then the last, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what usually ends up happening is the reason why individuals will behave in such a way once they've learned that someone is HIV positive. It all goes back to education.
Yes,
It's that
yes,
ignorance.
yes,
And
yes,
when you don't know
yes,
what
yes.
you need to know, when you don't know the
Right.
facts, your mind automatically wanders and you
Yeah.
imagine
Right.
things to be true that
Right.
aren't true.
And we think the worst.
Yes.
And that's natural. That is so natural, but it's 2011. The HIV/AIDS virus has been out since the early 80s. We've been talking about it, just celebrated the 30th celebration of AIDS, HIV and AIDS. Knowledge is everywhere. There's the internet, there's books, there's so many places where individuals can go to gain knowledge. So yeah, we know that ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance does kill. But at the same time, even though you may not be infected or affected, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to us, viewing us. They know someone that's infected or even affected.
Right.
Just take a minute to learn something new.
Right.
Know that you can't get it by touching.
And we're going to talk about the ways that HIV can be contracted
Right,
and
okay.
certainly ways to prevent. But in addition to the zero new HIV
Right.
infections, the zero discrimination, there's also the target goal of zero AIDS-related deaths.
Yes.
And I do believe many people underestimate how large a scale this epidemic is
Right.
in this world. And
Right.
so we definitely have to do something about
Right.
it. I want to show just some fast facts. First, we're going to start with the United States fast facts. 1.2 million people in the U.S. are living with HIV. That's one in, and then 1 in 5 are unaware
Wow.
of their infection. Then we've got approximately 50,000 Americans become infected with HIV each year. Again, that's just in the United States. Then approximately 35,000 people throughout the U.S. were diagnosed with AIDS in 2009. And this data does come from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention for the years up to 2009. When we look at just in the United States alone, 1 in 5 are unaware of their infection. How does that make you feel as an educator, as someone who's been working in this field?
Well, actually, Donna, it makes me, I'm thinking, I hear 1 in 5, and I'm thinking a lot of women think when they go for their annual physical that the doctor automatically performs an HIV test. However, they do not. The HIV/AIDS test, you have to give your consent for the test. So if the doctor doesn't ask, they won't perform it. And then if they do ask, they give you the option to opt out. So with that said, number one, when we go for our annual physical, men and women alike, ask the doctor to give you the test. If you're afraid of your insurance company not paying or you having to pay for it, you can come to our office. We'll talk about that later. But there's no reason why 1 in 5 people don't know their status, because there's free testing. And there's free testing right here in Aiken.
All right, that's a great segue to we're going to pause for a moment. After we hear a few words from our sponsors, not only will we talk about how you can be tested, but we want to make sure you understand the differences between HIV and AIDS, how it can be contracted, how it can be prevented. We're going to address some myths because, again, oftentimes It's ignorance that gets us into trouble. It starts with education. Prevention starts with education. And that's what we're providing you inside of Education Matters. My name is Donna Moore Westby, your host. We'll be right back.
Hi there. I'm Dr. Margot Muniz, here for this week's Magnolia Medical Center's Women's Health Tip. This week's topic today is going to be female incontinence. Female incontinence occurs in approximately 1 out of every 4 American female. A lot of ladies think that, or they just assume that it's a normal part of aging. Female incontinence or bladder leakage is not a normal part of aging. It's common, and there's a difference. In general, there's 4 different types of female incontinence, and it's important if you're having this problem to make sure that you're evaluated by a bladder specialist. The most common kind is what's called overactive bladder, and a lot of times you have the urge to go to the bathroom. Sometimes you don't make it. You may have some leakage. It can be very mild disease all the way to crippling. The second most common kind is stress incontinence, and that's when you cough and sneeze and you have some leakage. Followed third by urinary retention, which is very difficult for ladies to discern themselves, and they'll just leak without awareness. And then there's a varied forms of mixed incontinences. And it's important for you ladies to realize that there are many, many treatments available for these disorders. It is not something that you have to live with, and it is something that can be controlled and possibly even permanently cured. And so we encourage you, if you're having any bladder issues, to get them evaluated so that you can remain functional and happy in your own body. Thank you so much, and have a pleasant day. This is Dr. Margot Muniz from Magnolia Medical Center, and our number is 803-649-6366.
The Will Gray Opportunity School has been serving the beautiful Midlands of South Carolina since 1921. Our mission has evolved over the years, and we now specialize in helping young people move past their obstacles in order to achieve success. We give students opportunities to lead, to develop social skills, to become active in their communities, and to taste success. Don't settle for less than the absolute best for your life. Contact us today to take the next step in your journey toward success.
Does your child or grandchild need help in reading or math, or can benefit from preparatory coursework for the HSAP, ACT, or SAT? If so, contact the Barner Group Educational Associates. Our staff specializes in formatting an individualized approach to assisting your child academically. We offer low-cost tutorial services and educational programs. Participants may qualify for free services. To learn more, call for Alicia Cuthbertson of the Barner Group Educational Associates, 1-888-TBG-3996.
Welcome back inside of Education Matters. If you're just joining us today, we want to let you know on Thursday, December the 1st, the world will celebrate World AIDS Day. Why do we call it a celebration? Because it's a celebration of educating the world about the impacts of AIDS and HIV and AIDS, how to prevent it, how one contracts it with the idea of preventing it. This year's World AIDS Day theme is Getting to Zero. And isn't that an awesome goal, an awesome target? Joining me today in this discussion is Ms. Barbara Hightower. And Ms. Hightower, share with us how you became involved in this whole process of education, of helping people to get tested, etc.
Okay, well, actually, I was working at church here in Aiken, and I resigned. Okay. And when I resigned, I was prayerful. I know what my purpose is. I know that my purpose is to serve others. And I approached the director of Hope Health, which is where I work, and just asked her because she had always seemed like she really loved her job. And so over the years, you know, I would talk to her about, what are you doing now? She was, I'm traveling here, I'm going there, I'm doing this. So once I resigned, I approached her and asked her, did she have a position available? And she said, no, not really, but I need an assistant or something to that effect. And I told her, well, prayerfully consider me. And she did, and several months later, she approached me, and I went in for an interview, and that's how I got started. Knew nothing about HIV/AIDS, knew nothing about the virus here in Aiken or anything. Totally green, ignorant, knew nothing.
And I would imagine that in order to work with or assist and to care for or to serve, as you adequately put it, people whom you may see
Yes.
in the community,
Yes.
People you attend church with.
Right.
It takes a very special person, a non-judgmental person.
Yes, it does.
Certainly
It
a
does.
caring person to
Yes.
be able to
It
assist
does.
individuals.
It does.
Where is the center located?
Hope Health, the name of the center is Hope Health, and we're located on Waterloo Street, 130 Waterloo, and we serve all individuals from the Aiken, Allendale, and Barnwell counties. And you mentioned about being non-judgmental and
Yes.
coming into contact with people from the community. I do it daily. And what I'm not going to say set me aside from other people, because I'm just like you and you're just like me, but we're different in so many ways,
Right.
is that a person has to realize that we're all at risk, or at one point in time we've placed ourselves at risk. And it's only because of, I'm not sure. I can say several reasons why I'm not positive, you know, but we have to realize that we're all at risk. I'm not any better than the next person.
Right.
You know, I'm not any less than the next person. It just happened.
And I'm glad you say that, because early in the broadcast you mentioned about zero discrimination
Right.
as a target for this year's World AIDS campaign. And a large part of that discrimination comes in the stigma,
Yes.
and it also comes in people just clearly not
Right.
understanding
Right.
what HIV is and how it then develops into
Right.
AIDS. Clarify that for us.
HIV is the virus that causes AIDS. Just because a person is HIV positive does not mean that they have AIDS. It's kind of just like if you're catching a cold, you can do things to prevent that cold from becoming pneumonia or the flu. Same thing with HIV. You can prevent the virus from becoming AIDS. You can go to your doctor. If you're supposed to be on medication, and everyone that's HIV positive is not on medication, you can take your medication, you can have your physicals, you can eat healthy, you can exercise. The same, just like with any other chronic illness, the doctor gives you a set of guidelines to follow. Same thing with HIV. There's
right.
guidelines to follow. And do what the doctor tells you to do, because it can progress to AIDS. And AIDS is just like the end result of a virus. It's where if you catch a cold or you get pneumonia, it's harder to treat once the disease progresses to AIDS.
And this is why we must get tested.
Yes, testing is vital. You know, a lot of individuals will say, oh, I'm not positive, or I don't have it. And then my question to them is, how do you know? Oh, I just know. I don't feel like, do I look like it? No, it has no look,
Right,
okay?
right.
Sometimes there's no feel, sometimes there are no symptoms.
Right.
But if you've never had a test, and I'm talking everybody, regardless if you're in a committed relationship or not, if you have placed yourself at risk, and placing yourself at risk is having unprotected intimacy. If you've come in contact with someone's blood who is positive and that blood has gotten into your open wound. If you are pregnant and you're positive, then you can pass the virus on to your baby. But placing yourself at risk, and people think, you know, multiple partners or something like that. It's not that.
Yeah, people will automatically, if they find out someone is HIV positive, many people think, oh, they must have been
Yes.
just with
Oh,
every
yes.
Tom, well,
Jane
Tom and Harry.
and Jane,
Right, exactly.
And what did they do? And I knew it because of the lifestyle that they
Yes.
live. You know, we
Yes.
make so many assumptions.
That's right.
But it only takes one unprotected act, okay? And you're placing yourself at risk.
That's right, and that is the message here. We do not want to automatically assume that individuals who have contracted HIV, that it was just a whole lot of risky behaviors on their part,
right.
because it could be very, very different. Later on in the broadcast, we'll reintroduce you to a young lady who is HIV positive, and she is one of those individuals who was basically an innocent victim, all
Right.
right? It can happen. If it can
Yes.
happen to her, it can certainly happen
Yes.
to you or to me. We're talking about HIV and AIDS. Don't change that dial. We'll be right back.
Need positive and constructive after-school activities for your children? Call the Martial Arts Academy in Aiken under the direction of International Olympic trainer Andrew Blocker. The Martial Arts Academy offers an award-winning approach to teaching Taekwondo. It's an effective approach to instilling discipline. The Martial Arts Academy also offers self-defense and fitness classes for all ages. Enroll today in this affordable program by calling 803-642-5723 or visit the studio at 2398 Whiskey Road in Aiken. The Martial Arts Academy, positively changing the lives of youth and adults.
When it come to grilling, I'm the man. Using Dawn Seasoning Delight, I'm the grill master.
My seasoning is available at Kroger, Buy Low, Food Line, Reeds, and Harvest. Look for it on display in the meat department. Also visit seasoningdelight.com for information and recipes. Dawn Seasoning Delight. It's so good.
Dawn Seasoning Delight is so good.
Total Women's Health Care means treating the women physically, emotionally, and everything in between. At Magnolia Medical Women's Center, we treat and diagnose common and unusual medical problems related to female health. Magnolia Medical Center is a premium high-level obstetrics and gynecology clinic for women of all ages. Our clients receive the time they deserve without feeling rushed and unimportant. We are located in the Aiken Medical Center, 410 University Parkway in Aiken, Suite 2300. Call us today at 803-649-6366.
Are you curious of how the budgeting process works for local public schools, or want to know how public schools are funded and how those dollars are spent? Next time on Education Matters, Aiken County Public Schools Comptroller, Mr. Trey Traxler, will join me for Budget 101, a layman's explanation of all that and more, right here on ASTV, Education Matters with Donna Moore Wesby.
I lead a busy life, but I still have to make sure my family eats right. And everybody loves Dawn's Seasoning Delight. I use Dawn's on meats and vegetables. It's healthy, tastes great, and it's simple to use. It's like having a chef in a bottle.
My seasoning is available at Kroger, Buy Low, Food Line, Reeds, and Harvest. Look for it on display in the meat department. Also visit seasoningdelight.com for information and recipes. Dawn Seasoning Delight. It's so good.
The Will Gray Opportunity School has been serving the beautiful Midlands of South Carolina since 1921. Our mission has evolved over the years, and we now specialize in helping young people move past their obstacles in order to achieve success. We give students opportunities to lead, to develop social skills, to become active in their communities, and to taste success. Don't settle for less than the absolute best for your life. Contact us today to take the next step in your journey toward success.
Does your child or grandchild need help in reading or math, or can benefit from preparatory coursework for the HSAP, ACT, or SAT? If so, contact the Barner Group Educational Associates. Our staff specializes in formatting an individualized approach to assisting your child academically. We offer low-cost tutorial services and educational programs. Participants may qualify for free services. To learn more, call for Alicia Cuthbertson of the Barner Group Educational Associates, 1-888-TBG-3996.
If you are interested in becoming an individual or corporate sponsor of Education Matters, or to receive sponsorship information, call Donna Moore Wesby at 803-507-6793, or you can send an email to dwesby@edmat.com.
I'm delighted to be London's HIV ambassador and to be working with the Mayor and HIV organisations and Londoners living with HIV to raise awareness about what's still a serious health challenge and social issue in our capital. HIV affects the lives of many Londoners, including our friends, our neighbours and our co-workers, and the number affected continues to rise year on year. Even in this day and age, and with treatment available to make it a manageable condition, not enough people know the facts. Stigma remains a serious problem. Many people with HIV are simply too scared to seek advice, get tested or disclose their status to family, friends or employers. I'm particularly concerned about how it impacts on women, young people and some of the most vulnerable, including minority communities who may not have access to networks of support. We need Londoners to be more aware of the facts and to think about HIV as an issue that actually affects them and those close to them. It's worrying that 1 in 4 Londoners who have HIV don't actually know it because they haven't been tested. I campaign around the world to raise awareness about HIV and AIDS, but this issue also affects people here in London. That's why I'm dedicated to making a real difference to Londoners' lives, and I call on all Londoners to join me and play your part. Know the facts, get tested, and end the stigma.
That was Annie Lennox, a rock and roll star. I don't know if you remember the song Sweet Dreams. I think that was who sang that. Well, anyway, it's really good to see that people all over the world are paying attention to this condition, to HIV and AIDS, and we're coming together to continue the discussion and to say, hey, enough is enough.
Yes.
There are things we can do to prevent the spread of HIV and AIDS. Let's go ahead and address a few of the myths, because a lot of it ties to the overall stigma of even contracting HIV.
Yeah. I was at a women's group meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the speaker came down from Virginia, and she was sharing her story. She's positive, and she was sharing how she had been on drugs and how the man that she got the virus from and everything. And at the end of it, she gave the ladies in attendance the opportunity to share. And she told them, she said, just say your name, and if you want to say something. And most of the ladies, most shared, but some didn't. And the one thing that she noticed stood out is the stigma that's still associated with the virus. And I think the stigma is directly associated with the myths. And many of the myths are that an individual, even though we should know by now that you can't contract the virus by touching, because if you could, we would all be positive, because we don't know who we're coming in contact with. But a lot of the myths are, you can get it by the toilet, sitting on the toilet seat. You can get it eating behind someone, you know, don't use her fork, don't drink out of his glass, don't wash your clothes with their clothes because you're gonna contract the virus.
I haven't heard that one. Wow.
Yes, yeah, I've heard that. I've even had someone that bleaches her house. She's positive. She bleaches her house because she's afraid that her family members are gonna get the virus. And I told her, honey, you can't, if that's the case, your people would be positive, would have been positive a long time ago. And I'm laughing because it's not funny, but I'm laughing because how we're still ignorant after all of these years.
And really, you know what else too? It's fear.
Oh, fear has a great part.
And many people will try to cover up the fear with laughter or just, you know, a decoy off of the real fact that they are fearful.
Well, I do that too in my personal life. When I'm fearful, sometimes I do laugh. But, you know, a lot of times, Donna, when we don't know, and prior to 2007 is when I started at Hope Health, I was ignorant. So I've sat on that seat where a lot of people are sitting now, ignorant, didn't know, wasn't aware HIV was in Aiken. ignorant, wasn't aware that there was an AIDS service organization in Aiken, simply because I didn't have a need to know. So a lot of times when we don't have a need to know something, we're not up to date on what's going on. But we want to dispel those myths by letting people know that the person that's positive, they're human, just like you, just like me. We want people to know, just like when you go into a public place or your medical provider's office, you want the same service that anyone else would get. Matter of fact, one thing that I do at Hope is that I usually reverse the role. My client don't know that I'm reversing the role, but I reverse the role by saying to myself, if that was me sitting in that chair, how would I want to be treated? And I already know how I want to be treated when I go anywhere, whether it's McDonald's or Wendy's or wherever I go, I already know how I want to be treated. So that's how I treat those that I serve.
And those that you serve are human beings.
Yes.
Men, women, boys and girls with families, with lives who want to be treated.
Productive, working, you know, so
That's right. Take a look at this next clip. It's a very telling story of a young lady named Adrian who is HIV positive and still living. You need to know HIV is not a death sentence. Take a look.
It was a terrible, terrible shock. I mean, I was diagnosed 8 years ago, or was it 9? Well, 2009. So I was diagnosed in 2002, and I was at the point of where I was a walking dead person, but nobody ever suggested to test me because I wasn't what they call an at-risk category, and I had all the signs and symptoms, which I now know are the signs and symptoms, but I didn't know then. And funnily enough, my partner, who died 2 years before, like suddenly, of liver cancer, you know, had all those signs and symptoms as well, but I had no idea. Nobody ever thought to test me. He was what you call a very respectable man, you know, so, you know, people just don't think that people that are rich or have got OBEs or, you know, whatever, don't get HIV, which is ridiculous because HIV can and does affect everybody, anyone and everybody. Well, it doesn't affect everybody, sorry, I said that wrong. It can affect anybody. So when I was diagnosed, I had a viral load of 2 million and a T cell count of 23. So, you know, I was just like a walking dead person. But during that time, whilst I was, you know, had I been sexually active during that time, that's a dangerous time. That's when I could have passed it on to, you know, because I had no idea that I was HIV positive. I had a viral load of 2 million. And, you know, but because my partner had died, I was broken-hearted, I wasn't sexually active, but had I been, that's the danger time, and this is what people don't realise, that the people on the medication and that know their status and are taking medication and the viral loads undetectable are less dangerous than a person on the street who doesn't know their status and could be walking around with a high viral load.
Just a moment ago, of course, that was a very powerful testimony, and it's a real person, but we also talked about that when individuals do contract HIV, that it's not automatically that an individual was passing needles, you know, sharing needles, or, you know, having wild sexual encounters. But there are people who are just like you and me, married, you know, thinking things are all right and can still become infected.
And I'm glad you mentioned that part, because a lot of times I've approached, when we've had testing events, be it in the community at the post or at one of the local churches or other community centers, I've approached, you know, individuals and said, would you like to get an HIV test? No, I don't need one, I'm married. And I said, okay, but what does that have to do with knowing your HIV status? But I have a husband. Okay, what does that have to do? I have a husband also, but I know my status. You know, and not, okay, ladies, don't run out and think that your husbands are out there doing anything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we all need to know our status.
Or that your wives.
Exactly, thank you. Or your wives are out there, because that's not the case. It's just knowing your status. It's knowing what your HIV status is. It's knowing that you even though we do place ourselves at risk every time we do have unprotected sex, even if it is with our spouse, but fortunately we are trusting and we are praying and hoping that we're the only partner. But at the same time, anytime there's unprotected sex, you're placing yourself at risk. Not saying go out and do anything, but just to know that everybody that has the virus did not have multiple partners, like you said, did not share needles, did not go out and do things that was wild and unpredictable. Some of them do have partners right there at home, and they're their only partner.
That's right. Before we go to the video that's actually giving you testimony of a young lady we interviewed earlier this year, I want to quickly show you the numbers of tests right here in this area, okay? Lower Savannah, and then we've got the PD area, just all sites. These are the numbers of tests, HIV tests conducted by Hope Health, just for the year 2010. That seems like an awfully low number compared to the number of citizens.
Well, you have to take in consideration budget cuts. Right here at our office, which we serve the Lower Savannah area, there were budget cuts. You have to take in consideration people coming into our office to get tested. And then you also have to consider individuals inviting us into the community for testing. You know, even though we do hold 1 or 2 annual testing events, unfortunately, everybody doesn't take advantage of that free, and the tests are free, by the way. Every test that we perform, it's free testing. But the numbers are low because even though we encourage people to come, we try to inform individuals where we are and who we are and what we're doing. We can't make them get tested.
Right.
So we're hoping the testing with your yearly physical, that will help decrease the numbers. That will help that 1 in 5 become 0, where everybody will know their status.
And viewers, we want you to know that when you know your status, there is good news, because that then means you can get on a treatment plan.
Yes.
The sooner you find out whether or not you have HIV, the sooner you can begin treatment, and the longer you can extend your life and decrease the chances of that HIV developing into AIDS. Take a look at a very, very courageous young lady named Miss Tammy, who appeared on our broadcast to share her story. Hopefully, you'll find how impactful her story is. Today, also joining me in the studio, in addition to Miss Carolyn Yancey, representing Georgia Health Science University, formerly known as MCG, we have a very, very special guest with us in the studio, and I am absolutely honored to have you here with us. And this is Miss Tammy Ross. Miss Tammy, welcome to Aiken Standard Television Studio.
Thank you.
You all right?
Yes.
All right. You got that soft, sweet voice. We're going to have to pull it out of you. There we go. There you go. That gorgeous smile. Well, Miss Ross, I want to say from the depths of my soul, you did not have to come here today, but I truly believe that it is individuals like you who are really helping to save a life. You are HIV positive, correct?
Yes, I am.
Tell us what was going on when you found out your status.
Well, I found out when I was in the hospital. My lungs collapsed. So I was not sick. Just one day, I woke up sick and my lungs collapsed. I was in intensive care. When the doctor came in and told me that I was HIV positive.
So prior to that, you had no other symptoms, no other illnesses that were unusual for you?
No, just like a little cold or something like that, but nothing real serious that was going on with me.
So when the doctor entered your hospital room to tell you that news, how did he go about breaking that news to you?
Well, at the time, 2 of my older sisters was there with me, and he came in the room and told me that he had run some tests, and the tests that he run came back negative. And then he told me he ran one more test, and he asked me could he talk in front of them. And at that time I said yes, because I didn't think of anything else could be going on with me. And he told me that I was HIV positive.
what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Well, I had to deal with my sister before anything, because at the time he told me they jumped up and ran out of the room. So it was dealing with them and really not thinking about what HIV was at the time, because I really didn't know too much about it. I always heard about AIDS, but then HIV, I didn't know too much about it. And at that time, I was left alone, and so I had time to think and, you know, what I was going to do and what's the other steps that I had to make. And by being by myself, I really didn't know what to do. So it was kind of hard.
Oh, I would imagine that had to be just difficult for you. I mean, you go from having to console your family with the news to then being alone in that space to then take it all in. And then, as you stated, having limited education. I'm sure it brought to your mind just all kinds of thoughts on will I be alive, or what will this mean for my life? Is that correct?
It did. And I had a son, a younger son, and you know, what stage I was in or what I needed to do, and you know, who was going to take care of him. And so it was a lot of stuff going on. And then at that time, my family turned against me, so I didn't have support from them. So I was really, really by myself. I dealt with it. I was married at the time, and my husband was not positive, and he kind of left. So it was just, I was just in a dog place by myself and being sick and that was in 97.
97, okay.
I got in 97. So
that's a long time.
Yes, so
ago.
Being sick. Yeah, it's been a long time, and being sick, and then going through that, and then 98, finding out I had cancer. At that time, too, they told me I had 2 years to live.
Gracious.
So it was hard. It was hard going through being HIV positive, having cancer, and then have to take chemo. And I had 8 blood transfusions, threatened a massive heart attack. I've been blind.
So
I've
you're
been
a miracle, basically.
Yes, I am. And that's what drives me to talking to women of being HIV positive. You know, holding their hands, going through what they're going through, because I've been through so much, and being by myself, because from 1997 to 2001, I had no one to help.
Well, Miss Tammy, and I hear you say being by myself, but I have no qualms in saying I'm a believer, and I am a believer in Jesus Christ. And having heard you say all of the conditions and circumstances that you were able to come through, that you definitely were not alone.
Oh, well, and I was.
Wow. Miss Tammy,
awesome
you talk
story.
about courage.
Yes.
Not only does it take courage to tell your story and to come on television to share it, but it's also going to take a little bit of courage for whomever is watching today who've never taken a test to take that test, or also to have that conversation with a loved one, especially if they're in a relationship. What advice can you provide?
What I would say to anyone that's watching today, listening today, is that place yourself in Tammy's place. You know, say to yourself, if that was me, what I want to know, what I want someone to tell me, you know, with the stigma, and of course we have to keep going back to the stigma, because that's that big S word that always stands out. But once we realize, it's almost like in a classroom setting when we were kids and you wanted to ask a question, but you were scared because you felt like you were the only stupid child in the class. But as soon as one child did it, then you were more courageous, more willing, empowered to ask your question. So maybe if you call somebody up and say, hey, I've been thinking about taking a test. Will you go with me? Or I've been feeling like this, or there's some things I need to share with somebody. Can I bounce it off you first?
And I want to let you know, viewers, the test is very unobtrusive, if I'm saying that correctly. It was not intimidating at all. There was a little swab.
Because you had one.
I had my test. A a swab in my mouth, and she was able to provide the results
right
within
then,
minutes.
20 minutes results. There's no needle stick. There's no blood draw. 20 minutes, you knew your results. The only intrusive, if I'm using that word correctly, thing was there's some
unobstructed. I think
there's some personal questions you had to answer, but we handled that well, you know. But of course, don't let the personal questions prevent you from getting tested. Don't let either knowing me or even coming to Hope Health that's right here in the community thinking you may know somebody at the office prevent you.
And because we're almost out of time, please share. We do have, again, World AIDS Day, December 1st. There are many activities going on across this world, but also right here in this area. Tell us about what you all have going on with Hope Health.
What Hope Health is planning on Saturday, which is December 3rd, we're having our annual AIDS celebration. It's an AIDS walk. It's going to be a speaker. And we're inviting everybody to come out to just get some more knowledge on the disease. We are accepting donations also, but it's going to be Saturday at 10 a.m. at Osborne Park, which is on the corner of Lawrence, Highway 19, and Columbia Avenue. We'll have some refreshments, and it'll just be a time of education, empowerment, and a great speaker. Come out for the great speaker because it will also be someone that has been empowered by coming to Hope Health and the services that we offer.
Well, Ms. Barbara, give us the contact phone number for Hope Health and you in your office.
Okay, contact number is 803-643-1977. We're located at 130 Waterloo Street. Our agency is called Hope Health. There's no sign up front. We're trying to protect the privacy of everybody that we serve. But come, get your free test. There's no charge for the test. We test every day except Fridays. But if you can only come Friday, please come on a Friday to get your test.
And I want to let you know, viewers, there are testing sites. Wherever you live, wherever you're watching us today, there are testing sites. Please make sure you go get tested. As we celebrate World AIDS Day, let this be a time for you to get educated. Let this be a time for you to get some myths dispelled that you may have about HIV and AIDS. There's also a lot more we could say, the incidence of men having sex with men and how they're then having heterosexual relationships and transmitting HIV. We have a large number of women, more women who are contracting the disease, and it's because of things like that. The bottom line is get educated. Let this show be a catalyst to you finding out as much as you can, and certainly to get tested, because you have a right to protect yourself, all right? You have a right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We know it's an uncomfortable topic, but again, it all starts with education. We can prevent the spread of HIV and AIDS, but it must start with education. Thanks again, Ms. Hightower, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Wow.